All right, what I want to do today is review with you the stuff we learned last week, because I know with all the excitement and everything and with the school closing, I'm not sure, excuse me, if you remember everything, and you need to know it to do the IXL assignments that are assigned with it. All right, so I'd like to review starting with what points, lines, and rays were. Remember, a point is any place in space, and it is represented by a dot, and it's named with a letter in the alphabet. Like you could name this point 1, and you can name this point 2. And you can name it with any letters in the alphabet for a point. And it's the smallest thing that you build everything else in geometry on. Sort of like an atom is the smallest particle of matter, a point is the smallest thing that you can use in geometry, and everything else is built on it. And building on it, you have a line, which is a set of points that goes straight in both directions. To show it goes straight in both directions, you have an arrow on each side. Now, to name a line, all you need is 2 points on the line. There's an infinite number of points on the line because it goes forever in both directions, but you only have to name 2 of those points. And that is because only one line can pass through any 2 given points. Now, if there's even 3 points on the line, you don't name it with 3 points, you only name it with 2. So I could name this line AB, which would be AB with a line symbol on top. You could actually name it line AC. It would be the exact same line, because the exact same set of points that goes straight forever through A and B is the same set of points that goes straight through A and C. But again, you never name a point, a line with 3 points, only with 2. But the key thing is it goes forever in both directions. You then have a line segment, which the word segment means part. So a line segment is part of a line. And again, it's a set of points that connects 2 endpoints. And the way you name it is by the 2 endpoints. Like we could name this line segment XY, which would be XY with a line segment on top. And then we learned about a ray. An array starts at an endpoint and goes forever in only one direction. A ray, this ray right here, would be ray RS. Please notice I didn't say ray SR, because I don't name it from left to right. I name it starting at the endpoint and going through the point that's on the ray. So the ray starts at R, so I name it starting with R. So this would be ray RS. RS with a ray symbol on the top. And then you also could have a half line, okay, LM. And a half line starts after the endpoint and goes forever in only one direction. And again, this would be called half line LM. And again, the difference between a ray and a half line is where it starts. The ray starts at the endpoint, the half line starts directly after the endpoint. And to show that it's not on the endpoint, you have an open circle. And you might say, well, they both go forever in only one direction, so why aren't they both half a line? And the answer is because to be exactly half, it has to be exactly the same on both sides. And if you had ray RS, and then if you had the ray that went the other way, that would not have point R on it. So it wouldn't have the exact same number of points because this side would have R and the other side wouldn't. So since you need it to be exactly the same, you can't count the endpoint if you want it to be half. All right? And again, that's the difference between a ray and a half line, is the ray starts at the endpoint and the half line starts directly after it. So the ray includes the endpoint, the half line doesn't. Those are all things that I taught you, I think, last Wednesday, maybe Thursday. All right? Then the next thing we learned was about angles. And again, an angle is 2 rays with a common endpoint. Like we could say ray AB, and we could say ray AC. And again, the common endpoint would be A, because it's part of ray AB. That's the ray that's right here, starting at A going through B, and it's part of ray AC. That's the ray that starts here and goes there, starting at A and go through C. And again, that common endpoint is referred to as the vertex. Now we learned that you can name an angle 3 different ways. You can start at the top, go to the vertex, and then the bottom. That would be called angle BAC. You could start at the bottom, go to the vertex, and then the top. That would be called angle CAB. And if you only have one angle, you could just name it by its vertex. This would be called angle A. And again, all 3 of these name the exact same angle. And please notice you cannot name it angle ABC, because you don't go from A to B to C, because you would be jumping over the angle. So when you name it, it has to flow from one point to the next, all contained on the angle itself. You can't go from A to B and jump to C. So there are 3 ways to name an angle. There are also 3 ways to classify an angle based on its size. And remember, the size of an angle has nothing to do with the length of the 2 rays, because they go on forever. The size of the angle has to do with how much it opens up. And to figure out the measurement of an angle, a circle is 360 degrees. All the way around the circle is 360. That's why you have the 360 slam dunk. All right? So if you cut it in half, that half would be 180 degrees. And if you cut it into fourths, the fourth would be 90 degrees. And a 90-degree angle is referred to as a right angle. Now, you could have an angle that's less than 90 degrees. It's called an acute angle. And you have an obtuse angle, which is an angle greater than 90 degrees. And again, excuse me, a right angle, again, is that L shape. And you normally show it's an L shape by putting a little box there. This is the right angle, which is 1/4 of a circle. Then you have an acute angle, which looks something like this, all right, because it's less than 90 degrees, because 90 degrees would be basically here, and this angle only opens up part of that way. And then you have an obtuse angle that would look something like this. Okay, this is an obtuse angle because 90 degrees would be about roughly here. So you can see it opens up more than 90 degrees. And again, the way you can remember which one is which is acute things are little things like puppies and babies. So an acute angle is a little angle, one that opens up less than 90. The word obtuse comes from the same word as obese. And again, obese means very large. So obtuse angle is a very large angle, more than 90. You say, okay, I see acute is small, obtuse is large, but why do they call the 90 degree right? And I say, because of Goldilocks. Not too big, not too small, just right in the middle. So you have 3 ways to name an angle, and you have 3 ways to classify an angle. You name the angles by the points. You classify as either right, acute, or obtuse. All right? And these things are on your IXL assignments that you have this week. And again, I encourage everyone to get started on doing it because I've noticed that not too many of you have. Although a shout out for Austin and Jace Helfrich because they have been on. And I think both of them got 100% on the IXL that was entitled Points, Lines, and Rays. So you need to get to work on that, and then I'll discuss the other things that you need to know for the other IXL assignments. But right now you can do the first two IXL assignments just with this video.